Hello, my name is Michael Regan. This is my ca298 Project 2 submission. So this is my front end React it's a website for a university. And we're going to start off by looking at our created degree. We'll bring it to our degree form here. So we're going to start off by creating a degree. We're going to say full name is business. I'm going to think of a quick short code. Let's say BUSS or E. Then we're going to create that degree. And then if we go back and we view all our degrees, at the bottom here, we're going to see business that we just created. And then within our degrees, we can go to view an individual degree. Here's all the cohorts that are within that degree. And then if we click on a cohort, we can look at an individual cohort. And then here are all the students who are in that cohort. And then we can view an individual student. And then here's all the students' grades for all the modules that they do. We can also see all the modules that are in a cohort, and all the modules will show all the cohorts that module is delivered to. So we are going to now, we have the view all cohorts page, and we're going to create our own cohort for the degree that we just made business. So we're going to create a cohort. The ID is going to be BUSE1 for year 1. I'm going to find here, there's business, create a cohort. And then if we go back, and then we view if we view degrees, and then we go to business here, we should see that the cohort here that we just made. And obviously, there's no modules yet. So let's go back and let's create a module for our year 1 business. So if we create a module, we're going to call this intro. Oh, this is the code. So let's just say intro ITB1. I'm just going to call this intro to business. And then we're going to say this CA split is 50. And then this is for business year 1. We're going to create this cohort. Then we're going to go back and we're going to see, we're going to view all our degrees. We're going to go to our business. We're going to go here. We're going to view our modules. And here we go. Here's the module that we just made. Okay, that's great. Now let's make a student. So we're going to create a student. Let's say Michael Regan. And I'm going to be enrolling in business year 1. And then we create that student. And then we go back and we look at our the old degrees, business, year 1, and there I am. See, and then we can look here. Here's all my grades. I don't have any grades yet, so let's change my grades. Intro to business, and let's give myself 100 in both. And we go back, and then you should see here, yeah, look, CA total mark 100, exam mark 100, C mark 100. Okay, so let's dive into the code. Show individual. Okay, so let's look at show all degrees first. So here we have our props. We are making a fetch to that endpoint here. Very simple. And then we are running display degrees and we're passing in degree here. And then this display degrees is just a function for displaying all our degrees and using like MUI elements here. So then we have our show, that was show all degrees. Now we're going to look at show all cohorts. So in show all cohorts, we have our props cohorts, and we're making a request to this endpoint, grabbing all the cohorts, and then we're running them through display cohorts, which again looks like display degrees, where it's just going to show us all the information about our cohorts wrapped up in MUI elements. So then we have our show all modules, and in show all modules, we have our props modules and our set modules that we're setting after we make a request to this endpoint. And we're again displaying it in display modules, which is up here. here we have our display modules. Again, the same idea. Now we move to, if we want to show an individual degree for starters. So we're finding the short code from our URL because we're passing it when we link it. In our show all degrees, we say link, and then I'll show you the link. Show all degrees, and display degrees. This is what the link looked like here. So we're saying shortcode equals lm.shortcode. So we're passing in the shortcode through the link. So then when we want to view an individual degree, we already have that shortcode. So now we're going to cohorts where degree equals the shortcode that we passed in, and then we are displaying them in display all cohorts, or in display cohorts, which is passing in every cohort into display all cohorts, which is going to show us all the cohorts that are in this specific degree. Okay, so now we have show individual cohorts, so now we're looking at an individual cohort, and we want to see the students who are in that cohort. So again, we're passing in through the URL, we're passing in cohort, and then we're making a request to students where cohort equals the cohort that we just passed in, with the default one being compass 1. And then we are putting them, we're running them through display students here, and that's going to give us, we have at the top here, we just have stuff about our cohort, and we have an option to view. We have the students in, and then it will display the cohort name, and then we have an option to view all the modules in that cohort. And then here we'll show all the students in a grid, in an MUI grid. Okay, and then we want to show individual degrees. So when we click on an individual degree, we are looking at all the cohorts that are in that degree. Show individual modules. When we show an individual module, we look at all of the an individual module is it's just a simple page. I don't think I showed you that. If we go back here, we look at, this would be the individual module for ITB1. It's just a very simple page here. And then we have here show individual students. So here we're going and we're making a request to get their grades. So we're finding the modules that they take, we're finding their grades, and we're also going and we're finding like all the information about them. And then we're displaying them in display grades here. And then this is this is our HTML / like MUI elements that we're putting. And then show modules delivered to a cohort. So this is specific to if we want to look at the modules that are delivered to a cohort. Again, we're using display modules to pass in. We're going to the endpoint where delivered to equals the cohort that we're passing in, and then we're displaying those through display modules. Okay, so now let's have a look at our forms. So the first most basic form is the degree form. So the degree form here is we have our props here. So we have our full name and our short code. These are our two props. And then in our form, we have our we have a form. So on submit, we're going to run the function handle submit, which is up here. But first we have our two text fields where the label equals, the full name, and the value is the prop full name. And then our setter for that prop is set full name, and that's going to be the target dot value. So then on submit, we're running handle submit, where we're wrapping up our props into a data so that it's like JSON, so that we could send it to this endpoint, and then we are getting the response back. We're printing the data, we're printing an error if it's there, just for like error handling. Our cohort form here, same idea. We have our props. The only thing different here is that we want to pick which degree that this cohort is going to go into. So down here, we are running a menu item where the key is the short code and the value is the URL that we want to pass. And then that will, the list will have all the degree.shortcodes so that you can click which one you want. And then that will be ran through handle degree changer. And then that's just going to say from the prop here, up here, it's going to say set selected degree to e.target.value. So next we have our student form for creating a new student. So this is just, we want to pick the cohort that they're in, and we want to pick their first name, their second name, and then the REST framework is going to automatically generate a student ID for them. And then yeah, on submit it's the same idea as the last one. This is our student form, and then we are going to go on to our display cohort form, degree form. Where is our module form? Here is our module form. So the difference between this one is that before we wanted to pick one specific, like if we wanted to create a student, that student was only in one cohort. If we wanted to create a cohort, that would cohort only belong to one degree. Here, a module can belong to multiple cohorts. So that's where our select props multiple true comes in. That's only the real difference between this one. Again, we have all the same idea with our props up here, and we are just form, and then the validation happens on a lot of it on the REST framework side. And then we have our grade form for changing the grades of the students too. So here we didn't, because there's so many students, you can't just select which student you want from a list. So to change the grade, I actually have to put that on the show individual students page so that you can pass to a prop. To the URL, we pass in, yeah, to the URL, we're passing in the student and the cohort so that we don't have to actually select them manually, because we'll already have that information from the first page, from the show individual students page. We already have that, so that we don't need to go fetch it again. We don't need to look at all the options because there's so many students. We just pass it in through the page. And then finally, actually important, we have our trim function here. This is just because sometimes the information, if you want like for cohorts and stuff, is given in like a URL form, but we just want that one little snippet there. So this is just going to wait, no, that's the trim. Yeah, the trim is going to snip it down. It's going to cut it off at the // and then go back to, so that we can get it. And then the show iterate through delivered to. Yeah, so this function is for the delivered to. So modules are delivered to cohorts, and that it gives you a list, not just one like parameter like lm.delivered to, but we actually have to iterate through that, and that's what this is doing. And then this is also calling the trim function, because in delivered to, those cohorts are given in URL form, and we don't want them in URL form. Okay, that is my React app. Thank you for your time. Thank you.